Today's episode is sponsored by Black Falcon. I'm currently wearing one of their hoodies and I must say it feels lovely. They don't just do hoodies, they have a range of streetwear and casual wear items, tops, jogging bottoms, jackets, all sorts. Make sure you check them out at www.blackfalcon.co.uk or you can click the link in our description. Use code BALLTALK10 to get yourself 10% off at checkout.
This episode is sponsored by tornsports.com and I've got a lovely pair of sliders here, every footballer's dream. What else do they do, Lou?
They do grip socks, all heights. So,
nice.
They've got the ankle ones. And they actually do, I don't know, the footballers' trend these days is where they have the little cut in the back of their match day socks.
Yeah.
So they do them as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they do plenty of different socks and obviously sliders. So.
That's sick. Yeah, these sliders are very nice. If you want to grab yourself anything, head over to tornsports.com and get yourself something nice.
Welcome back to Ball Talk with me, Lewis Bryon, and today I'm joined by St Albans striker Ken Charles. Ken, I'm gonna be interviewing about sort of your career, how the season's been so far, and other bits about yourself. So we'll start on the current season. How would you say it's going so far for you?
It's been a mixed season, to be fair. Been a bit up and down. From a team perspective, we've not done. It's no secret we've done nowhere near what we expected to do.
Obviously, you played for St Albans in National League South. Yeah.
I mean, we went into this season with a lot of high hopes. I mean, St Albans had just finished outside the playoffs last season, and from what everyone had guessed, we'd recruited in a way that would bridge that gap now to be strong contenders for promotion. And despite having a really good team, football's unpredictable. And once you're not getting results and momentum's against you, very quickly, it went from a team that should probably be getting promoted or in and around the playoffs to a team that now needs to do whatever they can to stay in the league. So from a team perspective, obviously it hasn't been a great season, but I think we've definitely turned the corner in the last 15, 20 games or so.
Picking up more points.
We're picking up a lot more points. We're not losing many games. The form table, I don't know exactly where we'd be, but we'd be in the top half, definitely.
Yeah. You're currently 22nd.
Yeah, and we've closed the gap from, we was 9 points from safety at one point to we're just 1 point with a game in hand now.
Yeah.
So obviously there's lots to do, lots of football to play, but from that perspective, I think I'm confident and the players will be confident that we can do what we need to do to stay in the league and not get relegated.
What's the atmosphere like when you're obviously down at the bottom? Like, what's the atmosphere in the club between the players, the staff like?
It's obviously tense. Like, obviously we've turned the corner now and it feels a lot better for sure. But for a long stretch, I mean, we didn't win our first game until October.
Wow.
And that was still, at that point, it was stress just because obviously the manager, who we all got on with and stuff, we're thinking he could get sacked at any moment here. Not because we're thinking we're in a relegation.
I mean, he's done well to last that long if he's not...
Yeah, I mean, everyone knew he was a good manager and stuff.
Did he get sacked?
In the end, he did, because, I mean, the results just didn't turn as quickly as anyone hoped. But we went through a few phases. I think at that time of the season, we was definitely in a stage where we was not getting results and we weren't happy about that. But there was a bit of arrogancy in the air where it was like, once we get the results, we'll fly up this table. We almost didn't really take it seriously where we were in the table. Yeah,
the confidence weren't really, there was no proper merit behind the confidence maybe.
It was just
fair?
No, the merit was literally in the performances and how we was popping teams and just losing. So the game it doesn't make sense if you didn't watch the game, but we'd have 70% of the ball, full control of a game, and would get caught on one counter attack or something like that.
Like 2015 Arsenal.
And lose on the break 1-0 or lose from a set piece or something and come away thinking, how the hell have we not battered this team? Like, they couldn't lay a glove on us. They couldn't get the ball off us, but we'd lose. And look, football's a results-based game. No one cares about what possession you had or anything like that if there's only one stat at the end of the game that counts. So
do you feel it was the just sort of the system you set up was harder to get the results from? Is that why that you feel like you struggled?
I think we didn't. If you're going to play that way, you've still got to be in a sound when you lose the ball. I think when we lost the ball, we were very open. Yeah. And also, if you're going to be very open, you have to be really good at creating the chances to put teams to bed.
It's almost like the going forward bit needs to be the second part of the structure of the team.
Yeah. You got to be putting 2-3 past teams every game.
Yeah.
And we weren't doing that, and we were still open. So in the end, it changed. And once manager got sacked and stuff, I think it became very apparent that, okay, we need to survive. We need to stay in the league. So then, obviously, at one point, I'd say the atmosphere was very sort of tense and negative and lacking confidence in all directions, sort of thinking, where the hell are we going to get a win from? And that's turned recently.
Yeah, it's turned recently. So has the style changed, or is it just like a bit more?
The style's definitely changed. So back in, I mean, we have these conversations all the time. Back then, we was dominating game, like controlling games a lot from a possession standpoint anyways. We now got to a point where we don't. Like, we still have the same players. Obviously, we've brought in a few new players. Some have left. But the core of the squad are technical players that like to play football. So we can't just come away from that completely. We couldn't just now start hoofing it and trying to play sort of aim for territory and stuff. Yeah. But the new managers definitely brought in a balance where now we're very solid defensively. We've kept a lot of clean sheets recently. And we've still got the quality needed to nick goals and nick wins. So we're probably in a better position now for a relegation scrap than we were at the time.
Okay, got you. Do you what about you personally? Like, so do you know your numbers this year as a striker?
Yeah, I think I'm 9 in 22 or 23.
9 in 22 or 23 games?
Yeah.
Any assists?
I got 3 assists.
3 assists?
Yeah.
Okay, and you've had an injury as well this year?
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, I've had 2 injuries, which, I mean, it's part of football. Last season, I played 45 games. I literally just missed 1 game, was clean. This season, in the first month, I tweaked my hamstring, so I was out for 4 weeks. Yeah. And then more recently, I've had like a stress fracture in my leg, which has kept me out for 7 weeks-ish. So I've been a lot less available than I would have liked. Yeah. But in the times I have been available, I've, been making some noise around myself in the league for sure. I had decent numbers, helped the team get some big points at big times. Have scored some good goals as well. So personally, other than the injuries, I've had a decent season so far. Now, obviously, it will all depend on, I just came back last night, played 10 minutes. We've got 13 games left. So it'll be a big sort of my whole season will be judged basically on how these last 12 or so games go. If I come and hit the ground running, help us stay up, score some more goals, then it will still be a positive season all round.
Yeah, for
Obviously,
sure.
if the opposite happens, then it'll be a bit of a...
Negative.
Yeah.
Okay. With dealing with the injury, right? Obviously, because you're in a part-time setup. So I've always wondered, how do you go about dealing with it if you're only really seeing the physio, I'm guessing, twice a week? Yeah,
it depends on the injury massively.
Let's just go through your most recent one.
Yeah, so I think the difference between, let's say, where we are and let's say if you was at Palace or something would be, I think it's the diagnosis, the biggest difference, much less so than the frequency of which you're seeing the physio. I.e., there's a lot of guessing that's going around what's happening. Yeah, like if you was at Palace, the first thing you'd do is be sent for a scan. Yeah. They'd get an X-ray, MRI, whatever, and you know exactly what it is, know the time frame, etc. Whereas we don't. I mean, the clubs don't really send you for scans unless they feel like it's either something. Basically, unless it's 100% needed. So the first couple of weeks it was sort of a guessing game, almost like, okay, we'll just see how I feel. Yeah. And it's when it wasn't like improving as quickly as, to be honest, I'd never had anything like it. And I didn't think it was that bad because the last 2 weeks before I actually had to stop playing, I was kind of playing through it and it was fine. Then it got to a point where I thought, okay, I actually need to stop now. Yeah. But I thought, okay, 1 or 2 weeks, I'll be fine. And it just didn't really improve as quickly as I thought it would. That's when we started almost taking it seriously, trying to find out what happened and stuff. At the start,
it's almost reactionary, like rest, see how it goes.
Just rest, see what happens, how it reacts. Whereas, like you said, if you was at Palace or any sort of top Prem, champ, even League One club, the first thing would be, right, let's find out exactly what the deal is. So that's tough. But once you kind of have an idea, once you eventually understand what it is, I mean, for this injury, there wasn't much I could do anyways other than let it heal. Yeah. So even when I did go in and see the physio, we just literally just sit and talk. There was nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like obviously, then I'd go in the gym and do what all my other stuff that I could do to keep fit. Around it basically. But for the actual injury, there wasn't much to do. There wasn't much treatment I needed.
Okay, well, fair enough. So it's not like, I suppose, like football, you in a Cat 1 club or like a Premier League club, you'd go in, they might do like certain treatment on it in terms of not exercises, but like whether it's massages or boots or something like that. But if it's an injury that you don't even need that, then it's not that much different.
Yeah, whereas, I mean, when I...
But you're still going to the gym, like away from the Tuesday and Thursday sort of?
Yeah. I'm still in the gym pretty much daily doing something, because there was always...
So you just do that off your own back instead of doing it at a club?
Yeah. And I think they also know their players. So I think with me, they trusted me to just get that stuff done and be fine. I think if with other players, I think they would have been a lot more like, okay, we'll give you a plan and like feedback to us daily and see how you're getting along. So yeah, I just had a lot more free roam to do what I wanted, basically.
Yeah. Last thing on this season. So I just wondered who, if there is one that stands out in your mind, has been the toughest team or player you've played against?
Team, ooh.
Like one you've sort of gone there and think like this has been a tough day.
We played Worthing twice. Second game of the season, and then like just before Christmas. They were tough in the sense that they were better at us than what we did. So second game of the season, like we were still obviously like, the season just started. We're still thinking like we're going to compete with these lot to win the league and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was obviously a first team that had literally, I think they maybe had like 52% possession in that game. That was new for us, playing in the game where the other team had more possession. They were just better at us at keeping the ball. And their patterns were a lot like hard to deal with, hard to press. I'm just thinking as a striker, pressing, that was the hardest team to try and press and win the ball. But you just didn't really have much chance getting it back.
It just go around you.
Yeah, very good at getting out. And in the end, you just have to retreat and say, okay, cool, let's keep our positioning. I mean, we didn't lose, so it feels like that's not the best example to give. We didn't lose, like we drew both games. In your mind, but from in terms of actual game and playing, like definitely played those games and thought, this is long. This is long, yeah.
Is there a player at all, or is it never really?
There's some good. I mean, there's a few good players in the league. I mean, Worthing have a player, Cashman, good player.
Yeah,
has scored some good goals. They also got Mo Fowler, their striker, who I played with years ago at Enfield.
Yeah.
Good goal scorer.
But there's no centre-backs that come to mind. You as a striker, you think this guy's a good player? No. Maidstone
have a good centre-half. Temi Aweka, good centre-half. But then I scored a good goal against him. So like, but otherwise, he's good. Like, I remember playing against him thinking this is a good challenge. There's lots of good players in the league that give you a good challenge and stuff.
But it seems like
I always back myself that no, if I'm on my game, I'll be all right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave the current season for now. We'll go on to more your career path.
Yeah.
Okay. So it won't go too long at the start, but like too much detail about your academy stuff, but we'll briefly go over it. So you're at St Albans now, obviously, and you've played for various clubs up until St Albans. But talk to me, like, what was the first age you really started pushing for football and got into the first academy or training at a first academy?
I mean, obviously, I was put into football from very young. Yeah. Like with my dad, like not put in, but like we just played football. He took me to Sunday teams and stuff from the ages of like literally 4 or 5. Yeah. And that was just pure enjoyment. You couldn't keep me away from a football at that age. Like, and that was all I wanted to do. We used to go to the park all the time, train and stuff. And then obviously went through my Sunday teams. And by the time I got to like 7, 8, I think I started training with various pro clubs, pro academies. Trained with Spurs, trained with Arsenal, trained with Charlton, trained with Chelsea. And yeah, but still at that age, you're not really, I mean, obviously you recognize the clubs now. It's well, I watch on TV, but you're just going through it. Eventually, the first academy I signed for was Southend when I was 9.
How long were you
8
there for?
or 9. I think they were either League 1 or League 2 at the time. I can't remember. But I was there for 3 seasons, under 9 to under 11. And then from then, that's when I left and tried. I mean, we had this conversation before about how I tried to leave there. Yeah, left, went to Arsenal for a season-ish, but in the end that couldn't work out because of.
So you left Southend almost thinking you're going to Arsenal, and then that just fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, it would have helped if it fell apart quicker than it did. Rather than the whole season. But and then but after that, I was just through various clubs training, kind of still trying to develop. And then it got to a point where I think when I was 16, just done my GCSEs, didn't have a scholarship anywhere, and I pretty much said, okay, I'll just focus on school now, like leave football aside.
Like, is that? I was always curious of that. So you get to like 16 and you haven't got a scholarship after your GCSEs. Did you, like, how was it dealing with it mentally? Did you still, like you said, I'm focusing on school. So did your football dream sort of go out the window, or just secondary to school?
Well, temporarily for me, it definitely went out the window.
Really,
it definitely got to a point when I was like,
so common though. Yeah,
it's common, and that age is tough because I think it's the first age where people go full time for a scholarship, and it's like obviously a lot of people get cut out of the academies or like don't get that, and then it's kind of like what you do. I think up until then, if you're not in academy, you still feel like, okay, there's school football, there's like you might go on trial at stuff, at different clubs and stuff, but that's the first age where there's a big like sort of discrepancy now between being a pro or being a scholar versus not.
You feel like you're missing out.
Yeah, it was just like, well, what do I do now? There's no like, I can't not go to school and just stay at home.
What did you do?
I just carried on with school as normal, and like I said, temporarily, I'd say a good 4 or 5 months, I'd said like, I'd just leave football now and stop playing. And I wasn't playing because as much as I enjoyed football became something I was doing. It was a job, like even from young, like I'm doing this to become pro. So once I sort of felt like I wouldn't pursue football anymore, there was no reason for me to
keep playing it.
Yeah, I literally wasn't playing at all. But I think my mum was like trying to tell me, look, you've got a talent, keep at it and stuff. And then
how did you then go start to play football again?
It just one day literally just clicked. I think during the holidays of that first, like Christmas holidays of that first year as a, what you'd call a first year scholar. Obviously I wasn't a scholar. I was working a part-time job during the holidays. In a hotel with my uncle, just sweeping the floors and that. I hated the job, but it gave me money.
Them ones are always the one. Is that what sort of?
But yeah, literally. I mean, I was doing that for a while, and then I just like literally remember vividly. I went to toilets, and then because I used to just waste time in the toilet all the time, like just be on my phone.
I think everyone do that. Yeah.
And I was just scrolling on Instagram, and I remember seeing Reece Nelson signed his first professional contract at Arsenal, and I don't. That's one of the moments that sit with me because I remember it vividly, thinking, "Fucking hell!" Like that was obviously someone that I'd played with years before. That's the first person that I knew personally that was now getting sort of the public recognition of being on the Arsenal's main Instagram. He's signed a professional. He's a future star, and I remember that sparking it for me and telling me that like what I'm doing now ain't for me.
And it's possible.
At least give this a shot. And literally from that moment onwards, I started like getting myself back into it. Started training where I could. I went to
or just
started. I mean, started off was just on my own, going running and stuff to get fit again because I hadn't trained in a while. Then went to the local team at the time and started playing with their 18 and stuff. And then, but now I was very much like, okay, this is what I want to do again. And now I'm gonna sort of take it in my own hands to give everything to give myself the chance. Whereas up until that point, it was definitely just you're a child going around. Yeah, you know you want to be a professional, but you don't necessarily know what it takes, and you don't necessarily do everything that needs to be done. Like I'd go training.
You're not always aware of what
you're just not aware. I wasn't really aware of what needs to be done. Whereas now I knew, okay, I'm doing my A-levels, I'm at school, and there's players that are scholars. Like, if I'm gonna get a chance to catch up with these players, I need to do some serious work, like outside. Like I need to
outside of team training.
Outside of team training, I have no structure, but I have to do as much as I possibly can. So I remember like before school, I was like going running and stuff. After school, I was going training. I had a lot of schoolwork to do as well. So those 18 months or so where I had to finish my exams. I was juggling a lot with school and just trying to train as hard as I could to give myself a chance again.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had the talent, so it wasn't like I always knew that, okay, if I now decide I want to do this, I'd have a chance. Yeah.
And then you played for like a local team, and then did you sign your pro as the next team, or did you go to like a non-league club?
So
which one come first?
First, I went to a Step 5 club.
Yeah.
Called Erith Town at the time. So I was like 16, 17. Played with them, and I was playing for Maidstones under 18s as well. I was literally just trying to play as much football as I could. So Saturdays I was playing with Erith. Maidstone were playing Monday nights, I think. So I was playing with them, and both were just very different experiences. Like Maidstone, I was with the 18s. That was where I was sort of ripping it up and like gaining attention. Erith Town on a Saturday, I was doing well, but that was more just experience because
giving you good men's experience.
Yeah, it's a completely different game.
Which is something you could then have on top of the players that got the scholarships.
Yeah,
weren't going to get that.
Yeah, I'd had direct men's experience. I think I played 30 games or so that year. That helped me massively. And then I got attention from that. And then
is that when Colchester come in?
So first West Ham came in for me on the back of that season. So I went there for 2 weeks or so. Went on tour with them to Zurich. It was a pre-season time, so I went to Zurich, played a tournament with them and stuff. In the end, they didn't offer me a deal, but the scout that took me there basically said to me, "Look, you've got potential. I'm gonna try and see where else I can get you in." And he managed to get me in on trial at Colchester for the remainder of that pre-season. So I spent about 4 weeks or so at Colchester, and then eventually signed there.
Okay, and how long were you at Colchester for? First of all, sorry, before I go on to that, what was the feeling like of signing the pro when probably 2 years ago? You were sort of giving up on football.
It'd probably be one of the highlights of my career in a sense that I think when you work hard, you need rewards to keep you working hard.
Yeah,
I mean, we all talk about hard work and it's important to work hard, but it'd be very hard to do it endlessly without seeing the results any rewards and just keep going. Like I'd done about 18 months of like full commitment to football training, etc. That was like a reward for that. And because of that, that's helped me since then, because you need to have a reward from your hard work at some point, even if it's small. That was my first professional contract. Like, of course, there's still lots to go from that, but I knew it was something that millions of kids dream of and don't actually ever get. I'd got that through the back door. There was players that had sort of been in through the academies and stuff for years. Yeah, they hadn't got that. So that was sort of an important milestone for me personally to realize that, if I do put in the work, if I do try and outwork people, there's always a chance you'll get rewarded for that. Yeah,
for sure. And you know one thing, if you don't put the work in, you won't get rewarded. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, that's a guarantee anyways.
And you were there for about 1 year, was it?
Yeah.
So you were there for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And first of all, how did it feel like when obviously you did get let go from there?
I just had a chip on my shoulder. Yeah. That was all. Like, obviously disappointment, but I just...
Was it like, I'm good enough to be here still? Like.
Yeah. I mean, it was a...
It's not like you walked in there and thought, right, that striker is he's better than me.
No, there was no one in the 23s there that was better than me. It was more just bridging the gap. Yeah. And I remember we've spoken about this before, where like they had to vote basically. And it was like
all the staff.
It was like academy manager, the 23s manager, and Scouts. Head of recruitment or whatever, like three of them, voting. And the academy manager was voting for me to stay, because he obviously used to see me every day, saw the potential and stuff. He said, "We got to keep this kid on." Wait, did I say academy manager? Yeah, I meant the 23s manager. Oh, 23s manager was voting for me to stay, and I think it was the academy manager and someone else, whoever else had the say, that voted for me to let go. So
the person who was most direct with you wanted, spent the most time with you. Yeah, wanted you to stay.
Yeah, and obviously, again, you're still let go, but from a personal standpoint, I was like, okay, someone sees what I've got and backs me. So, I've just got a point to prove now. And I I'd been through enough setbacks in football, even up until that age, to know that you can't take these things personally.
Course,
you cannot let it really change what you think about yourself. You can't let it affect your career. I just knew that this would just be another setback, and I have to go and work hard again and try and come back from that.
Yeah, and then you obviously left there and went and played for various different clubs, sort of in and around National League.
Yeah.
Which then led you to St Albans, which you've been at for what, a year?
Just this
whole season.
Yeah.
What would you say now are your current future goals in football? Like, you can say either short term this season or maybe longer term.
Yeah, I mean, obviously short term this season, we have a job to do at the club, which is to stay in the league.
Yeah.
It's good to be back involved at the right time. Personally, I want to contribute with as many goals as I can, which will obviously help us win games, but also help me from a personal standpoint progress.
Yeah.
I want to move up. I've never made that a secret that my aim is to play as high as I can. Long term, I'd definitely love to look back at my career and say I made it to the EFL and played regularly in the EFL.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I didn't manage to play regularly, it would be an achievement to say I made it in there. But knowing myself, if I got the chance, I'd want to, like, if I do get to play in the EFL, it will be a lot later than I would have wanted to. Like, I would have wanted to have been there by now anyways. So I don't think that, because of that, my mindset is almost like, when I get there, I'm going to be there as long as I can.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I see players that obviously played in the EFL at 21, 22, 23, and by 27, 28, they're coming down to the National League South and that. By my late 20s and early 30s, like, I still need to be there. wherever the top of my career is. I need to try and prolong that as long as possible. So that is my aim.
Do you think you will in the near future?
I mean, I have full confidence in that, which is why I put the work in, and it's why that's what keeps me going. Yeah. I obviously know football is so unpredictable, and like, there's no guarantees. Like, even small things like injuries this season have perhaps slowed me down in a way that I wouldn't have predicted before the season and stuff. So you never know what's going to happen, but you can only control your own sort of daily application, and that gives yourself the best chance. And I know full well that I've always said to myself, if I control what I do daily and put the most into it, whatever happens, you look back and say, well, I gave everything. Yeah. So I maximised my career. I think it would be a problem if I looked back and thought,
could have done that.
I could have done this, could have done that. So that's me.
Hopefully it does turn out the way you want. We'll go to more outside the game now. Mm-hmm. Quite interested in this, actually. So obviously a lot of footballers who are in the part-time setup, especially when it's really close to being, you're like one league away from being a full-time setup, or even some in the same league might be full-time. It's like, how do you decide to go about, right, do I focus on football fully and, train, like you said, train when I'm not with the club, or do I go get a job and sort of do this on the side? Like, how did you go about navigating, like, you've got to earn a living. Obviously football does pay you, but you've still got, like, you're not in there every day. So what do you do with the rest of your time? Do you get a job? Like, how did you navigate that? Yeah,
so obviously very early on, when I first came out of Colchester, 19, 20, around that age, when I dropped into non-league, the first sort of wages I got were not wages you could you're not earning enough. Yeah. But I was very much like, I just looked at my circumstances and thought, right, I've got no commitments. I live at home with my family. Yeah. This is what I want to do. I don't mind having a year or two. I mean, at 19, 20, it all depends on your personal circumstances and where you want your life to go. If you, like myself, think you have potential to earn a living from football, then the smartest thing to do would be to maybe sacrifice a year or two to do whatever you can to give yourself that chance. And I knew if I went into work at 19, that's going to take away some percentages from the amount of training you can do, from your recovery, all of those things.
And you had the benefits of being, like, living with family.
Yeah, I took advantage of my own benefits. Obviously, that's not always going to be the case for everyone. And you have to do what's best for you. But yeah, at that age, it was just a simple decision between, right, I mean, they pay me enough to get food and stuff, and get a gym membership. But like, you ain't, apart from that, you ain't.
Couldn't pay rent on your own.
No, you couldn't pay rent on your own. You couldn't you couldn't do much with it. So at that age, it was a clear sort of distinction. And then obviously during the COVID time, like football stopped and stuff. So back then I actually had to work.
Yeah.
So I worked various jobs and stuff just to, now
money,
you need to earn money. So that was clear during those years I had to. And then after that, when COVID sort of went, and then I went to Kings Lynn and stuff and got a full-time deal there. Since then, I've been in a position where football's always given me enough money where I'm fine.
Yeah.
There's still, what I want to do and stuff, and there's still like, I know there's a lot more money to make in football.
Yeah.
And I, when I've been at part-time clubs, the option is still there to go and work and now earn a very good living, by using the extra time. But where I've been committed to trying to maximize my career, I've just thought that's not necessarily for me. But I wouldn't be you never know. Like if I'm still not where I want to be in a year and a half, 2 years, then, this stuff you have to reevaluate as they come.
But you obviously, like I said, you still are in a part-time setup and you do some other stuff. So what, like you obviously your performance and training, coaching side of things, I know you've got an app. So what made you get into that side of things alongside your football?
Well, the performance stuff I kind of only started a year and a half, 2 years ago. The first thing I did when I signed for Colchester was I also signed up to do a part-time degree.
Yeah.
That was just because I'd already done my A-levels, like been through the path where I almost went to uni. And obviously I had the talent in that side of things. So I just thought, okay, football's never guaranteed. A part-time course, I could either spend my afternoons after training on a PS4.
Yeah.
Or I could just go, which is what 99, all the guys I lived with did that. You can, or I thought I could just start this degree and you never know, it might be helpful. So I started that, and obviously it was part-time, so it was 6 years, and I remember thinking, it's so daunting. But before you know it, I'm in my 6th year now, and it finishes in June. Okay. So the time does fly, so never be put off by something that seems like it will last forever, because it actually, before you know it, you're there.
Yeah.
And then more recently, I've started doing the performance stuff, and that was never really planned. It was like, I remember when I was at Kings Lynn, it started. I just started kind of documenting the training I did, like
posting stuff in the gym.
Yeah, that was the main thing I did, and it wasn't with no sort of goal or aim. It was just, let's see if people are interested.
Yeah.
It started off on TikTok,
and it's what you were doing anyway.
That's why it was easy. It was like, I'm here.
It's not work, really,
I wasn't doing anything extra. It's like, okay, I'm in the gym. Let me just put my phone down and record. The quality was bad, and it was like on the floor and whatnot. But it was just whatever. But like, people were interested, or a lot more people were interested than I thought they would be. I just thought, well, I don't play in the Premier League. I'm in the gym. Like, why would anyone care? But then I realised there's actually a huge sort of audience of players that look up to players in full-time environments and think like, we're looking up, thinking, right, I'm playing in the National League. I'm looking at champ players, Prem players, and thinking that's where I want to be.
Yeah,
I'm no one, but there's a whole lot of players that look up to you and think you're where they want to be.
Yeah, of course.
And you don't realize that. So that really helped me to realize that, okay, you're actually in a privileged position, and you're doing something that a lot of people can only dream of or want to. So once sort of that developed an audience, that's when I just thought, okay, what can I do to take that to another level? I started with like just programs and stuff, like did an off-season program, did like a pre-season program.
All specific for football.
All for footballers. And those did well. And then I just thought, okay, how can I just make this a thing where it's like it's helping players all year round?
Yeah.
And then looked at a few options, and then eventually thought, okay, I'm going to start an app. So yeah, that's been pretty much this season. The app's come into place since August. So the past sort of 6 months, and that's done well. It's obviously hard work in terms of setting it up, mainly at the start, getting all the systems in place, putting all the content on there, and then obviously now the work's more on the marketing side and just promoting it and stuff and getting more and more subscribers. But it's going well, and that's helped that definitely helps from a player standpoint, in the sense that now I can just focus on playing and know that Obviously, I earn a wage from football. I can make money off the app, and that's not like going to work. So it's not distracting from the football. It's not distracting from sort of the training side of football.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm less sort of like, oh, do I need to start another career, or do I need to work on top of playing football and stuff? I can kind of just...
It's easy to manage them both.
Yeah.
And the thing you sort of were doing anyway is all related to football.
Exactly.
So, like, it's all football programs, football. Like, it all helps a footballer.
Yeah. Like it makes so much more sense for me to do that and make money off that than to go and work a job.
Something completely different.
Yeah.
What are your future plans? Lastly, we'll finish on this. What's the future plans with that side of thing?
With the stuff outside of football?
Yeah.
Obviously, it all kind of depends on football, massively.
Yeah, of course.
Like, let's say I just fall off and start dropping down the league,
break the back or something.
Or then
let's hope none of them happen.
Yeah, I mean, then I'd have a lot of options, because with my degree I could pretty much just get a job.
Yeah.
Like
would you
finance or something?
Feel like you're the person?
I wouldn't. It's not something I'd want to do long term.
Yeah.
It's an option that you can always do for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because you can get a really good job that pays you a good wage and sort of use that to give you the foundations for 2 years or something. That like use it to build up your savings or something, and then go into something else. Long term, it's not something that would be for me. But it's just an option that it can't hurt to have that option. Obviously, with the app, I'm working on it pretty much daily in terms of trying to scale it, in terms of trying to make it better for players. Just give players who aren't in a full-time setup mainly, or aren't in the academy setup, the access to sort of high-level training stuff that they won't necessarily like. It's stuff that when I was 16, 17 and just sort of found my hunger again, that I would have liked to have had access to, because back then, you're sort of the pros are in a bubble. Like they don't tell you what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing. So you're really like, you're just kind of guesswork, and you go on YouTube and see stuff, and you try random things. But I'm hoping to give players more of a structure and sort of just from my own insights, and give them something that they can follow, knowing that this is sort of in line with what pros are doing. And if you've got the talent to match, this will help you. But I'm always like, it's a gift and a curse. I don't really switch off. Yeah. So like, I'm always thinking of loads of other ideas, loads of things, because I mean, I obviously love football and have a big talent in football and want to make that as successful as I can. But I'd say over all of that, I want to be successful as a whole, as a person.
And we know football will still be like less than half your life.
Well, that's the biggest thing. It's like,
if you're lucky,
that's the biggest thing. I know that no matter what, 10 years from now, I'll be at the end of my career. Yeah. I'll either be done or knowing that I've got a couple of years left, no matter what. Even if it goes extremely well, or if it doesn't, I've got about 10 years left. So because of that, you've obviously got to be thinking of how you can be successful outside of football regardless. So I'm always looking at different ideas. Obviously, we're starting up a clothing soon. So, who knows, maybe that will take us. Off, yeah. Maybe I won't have to play football anymore after that.
Just walk into St Albans, like, just hand them the top.
I'm always trying to be productive and see what sort of ideas I can get involved in and be successful in.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. Well, we'll leave it there. Wish you all the best for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it.
You get some decent numbers.
Appreciate it.
Lovely.